So, you want me to rebuild or remake the laserblast gun, huh? Okay, I can do that. And I've been promising it for a while, so let's get going. No thanks to, what's his name, Jim Latta, the thief that stole the original. I have to work completely from photographs and from my memory of how I built it. And what I recalled is that I used a bleach bottle for the main body of the gun. And you can see the handle of it right there. This is real archaeology here. And you can see on this end, there's a handle that faces at a 45-degree angle that I can grab onto. That was not part of the bottle, I don't believe. I don't know what I used, but I remember the thing I used to grab it with. In addition, you're seeing a 16mm film can that has vinyl over it, glued on. This is the back side, okay, of a Star Trek tricorder, TOS tricorder. This is the back side of it. This is of course, the full top part of the tricorder, as you will recognize. And the reason I used these is because a friend of mine at the time named James T. Kirk was making these props and selling them at the conventions. And he says, oh, I'll give you a bunch of those. You want to use them? So I did. I didn't have a lot of time to build this gun. I had like, I don't know, 2 weeks or less. I had to build it from anything I could get my hands on back then. I mean, this is 1975, 76, right in there. V and I were living together in a Toluca Lake apartment. And in addition to working on the makeup and doing makeup tests with V, doing the applications, I was building the gun at the same time independent. So I went to a local surplus store, and they had a lot of computer heat sinks, and you can see a whole bunch of them on here. There's one here, a rather large one, and then there's a bunch of them going down this way. And of course, those will all have to be manufactured, and I'm going to do it using styrene, and I'm going to make molds. I'm going to make up the heat sinks in plastic styrene, and then I'm going to mold them and then produce them out of resin, and then they will be painted to look like they're made out of aluminum, which is what they were made out of. This handle here, I forget what it was. It was some kind of it wasn't a gun for doing markers. It was something else that I found at the same surplus store, and I cut out foam and stuff and put it over it. This was just a hole I cut in there, and this gun lit up. So this had a graph on it that lit up, this lit up. And if you look at some of the pictures, you'll see that it's lit up. And these are all little, what we called, these were all polyester resin castings. This is very TOS Star Trek. And then of course they were tinted from underneath so that when the lights turned on, they would make them glow and light up. And these are original, the little, what they call juju beads, I think it was, from the TOS. You could still get these. The rest of it's all kinds of tubing. This material here, I think I can still find. And this right here. Let's see. This here, that's a thick piece of acrylic. It must have been, oh God, I don't know, 1/8 an inch or more thickness, and I could just get my arm in it. And so I need to determine how big that is because it fit over a bleach bottle, or at least the same kind of bottle that was used for a bleach bottle. You can see just this slight curve of this handle and part of the flesh of my hand inside of it, and that's what you grabbed onto. This is a piece of clear frosted Plex that I must have found at surplus at the plastic store. So, and may the force be with you. I got that when I went to the premiere of Star Wars. So, and this was the day we did the test makeup. There's teeth in, but no eye contacts. Ironically, if you notice in the beginning of the film, I don't have any teeth in. We forgot them. I'll never forget it. We were more than halfway out there. I said, God darn it, V, I forgot the teeth. But luckily, we did have the eye contacts, painful though they were. So V actually dyed my hair for this and cut it and styled it. This is us out in the desert. This is all the equipment. There were only 4 of us that shot the opening sequence. Dave Allen, Paul Gentry, his camera assistant and still photographer, V, applying my makeup, and myself doing the acting. There's Dave Allen. But we want to look at more stuff of the gun. This was shot at an old Mitchell. These tubes running down the side were just aluminum tubing. And these little parts on the end right here, those are from an Eagle model back in the day. I forget which one, and so I need to find those parts or fabricate them and mold them. So the gun is crude. That's how things were done in that day. We were shooting on 35 millimeter, and you know, it only had to be good for camera. These are shots of me rehearsing and Dave getting ready to get his shot. So that famous historical shot where I come down the rocks and fall. And there I am falling and I got blood coming out of my mouth. Close up on that. Now you can see more of the gun. You can see that the lights are on. You can actually see that the screen is lit. But there's some other pictures here that really show it lit up well. And you can see that the tubing, you get a good idea how big it is. But it's all based on what will fit around a standard size bleach bottle, which I will show you something about in a minute. There's V putting the blood. There's the blood that's in a little tube. You can see the pendant quite clearly there. It's a tinted blue. And there's V with her blood dripping on the side of my mouth. It's interesting that a green alien has red blood. So, of course, there's a very young Steve Neal, Paul Gentry, and Dave Allen. So, and I'm wearing a Star Wars t-shirt. So, but moving through here, there's a lot of things you're going to say, oh, God, please stop, I want to see that. And I love this picture here. A fly just happened to land on the eye of the creature, right there. See it? So these are the original foam rubber puppets, of course, and the sets. But we're interested in the gun. Dave doing animation, more animation, rear projection going on there. Randy Cook. And, of course, the Greg Jean model with the Starfield. Paul working, shooting stop motion of it moving. And there's Dave holding the model. I mean, it was a really tiny model that Greg did, and evidently it's still in good condition. There's a treasure trove of pictures here that I have. Even this great, I always love this. This is something that Randy Cook did. And of course, Dave's teaching English 107A, Victorian poets. And he seems to be adequate for our first class questions. And this guy stands up and says, yeah, would you care to try to explain this, Professor Allen? And it's a picture of the laser. Randy did this. He's quite a talented artist. There's a very young V. This is the prosthetics being put on. A lot of you probably didn't notice, but there are many stages. And the first stage was just some cheeks and a nose, a little bit of brow going on there. And there it is with the appliances being blended in, and that was the first stage. Of course, that's the last stage. There were actually 3 of them in total. So there's V with Roddy McDowell, who I worked with many, many times. So that's pretty much it on what I have to go from on the gun, aside from looking at the movie, so I need to get the Blu-ray, but that's a pretty good shot there. These actually opened and closed, and right there, he must have broke it or something because they're not opening evenly. When you pulled on the handle, these opened up like this. And of course, on this build, we're going to have a very bright light source in there. Not a real laser, because we need a laser that was pretty wide field, and we'd probably hurt somebody, so we're going to have a very bright light source of green coming out of it. This is the stunt double Roger Heisman, which every one of these pictures help because I can zoom in and take a closer look at them pretty well. And Paul has the original negative, so here he is. So this is what I've been doing so far. These pictures are incredible, and I can look at them all day. Of course, there's that coming soon Star Wars sign that he blew up. We blew up lots of cars and stuff. But what I've been doing is this. Now, this is just thin plastic, clear plastic I had here. And what I wanted to do was determine by looking at the pictures, because it sits up about this far on my arm, and I know I got my hand on a handle piece that'll be about there. That's about right. Now, so this is a little too long, but that's okay because we'll just trim it down to here with the actual plastic. Now I know exactly how long and how wide the acrylic tubing is I need. So I know if I measure this, if I had something to measure with. So the bottle, which was a bleach bottle, was basically the same configuration as this one. The same size. They've made these for years. They've never changed. So I wrapped it around 2 of these. I had 2 of these butt to butt. So this should give me somewhat of an accurate dimension for inside diameter. So it appears to be, well, 4 3/4. So now, of course, Mary's going to go look up and see if they have a tube that size, or it'll be close to that. It'll either be slightly over, but it can't be under. It won't fit around this. And I can clearly see that that this is over this. So now what I'm going to do from this point on, now that I've got this established, is I'm going to start working on the barrel. Now the barrel, let's see if I can get a picture here. The barrel, I actually sculpted it, and I made a plaster mold, and I made it out of neoprene, which is a type of rubber that gets very hard. And so by now, I bet that has rotted away almost completely. But it's shaped, first of all, it's oval. It's oval shaped, like this. The whole barrel is shaped like that. That I remember. You don't really see that clearly in there, but it does. It is that way. Looking at it from the top, it's kind of shaped like this. I'm really bad at drawing straight lines. And it flares out like that, and it's like that. So I have to make some formers, just like a model airplane, and either wire cut and foam, or just form it in styrene, and I do a foam end to it, and then glass the whole thing, and sand and putty, and make it all smooth and perfect and nice, and then attach it to this, and then make a mold of the entire thing. And that'll be the main body of the gun and the barrel, which should be easy to figure out how long it is based on having it back here, having arm out there, and seeing in the pictures just how far it reaches. So I'll just put that. There's a picture here, well, that kind of shows. It gives me an idea. There's some from the exact side, and where I'm holding it in like this, and you can see how much it extends. Now, I haven't gotten shorter or longer, so based on my dimensions, I should be able to figure out the length of the barrel, which is about that long. And the idea here is to make the entire gun body and the barrel all one piece cast out of a hard mold. We're not going to do a silicone mold. We're actually going to do a epoxy glass mold and make epoxy glass castings from it. That's the best way to do that. And then we have a very hollow piece that I can put electronics and lighting in. Now for the back end of this, what I remember is a piece that from the side looks like this. And I'll be darned if I can remember what it is I used. And it fit over the end. And that's from the side. And of course, if you're looking at it straight on, it was something like this. And then it blended down into here. So that's looking at it straight on, and from the side it would have looked like that. So since I can't remember what I used, and I doubt if it even exists anymore, I'm going to have to manufacture that. I'm going to have to make this piece, and the way I'm probably going to do it is a combination of foam and whatever I can use to get the shape. And then again, that will be permanently attached to this. So when I cast up the entire thing, the handle's on it, the main body's on it, and the barrel's on it. Now, that moves us ahead very quickly. And then, of course, these will be made out of the acrylic tubing. The other parts, I'm going to find out what they were. If somebody out there has one of these old Eagle models, I need to get hold of one. I probably can locate one on eBay. But I need to remember which kit it was. And so those of you who are watching may actually know and go, oh, Steve, I recognize that. That's so fine. Tell me where to find one. You could be a big contributor to that. And of course, all the heat sinks are going to be manufactured, made, and molded. And for the tricorder parts, I actually have, well, cut for a minute, Mary, and I'll show them. Oh, jeez. Let's take it out here. Oop. I still have one of these. This is an original James T. Kirk tricorder. Oh my God, there's still a battery in it. I wonder if it still works after all these years. Apparently not. Oh yeah, that battery works a lot better. Look at that thing, it still works. And basically it has the same stuff in it, except these are LEDs that were in place to renew it after it had been sitting around for a long time. It was in pretty bad shape. But as you can see, if I can get this to close, please don't go badly. I can take this apart, and this, in fact, is exactly the same part that I used. And this is the back side of it, and of course, you can see from the front, hopefully I won't break this, it's pretty old, that it's the same piece. I didn't cut the slot in it, I can see. There's a gun pictures there. It's exactly, identically the same one. So, I'm going to take this apart, unscrew this, take this off, make molds off of it, and then I'm going to use this plate here to replicate another metal one out of aluminum. I'd probably take these somewhere and just get them cut out, or I might just do it myself. I mean, it doesn't look like it's a very even job. I probably could even do better now because it's thin plate aluminum. And so this, because I have this, I can have these parts, which are dead accurate because they're from the same molds as was used back then. So that's the progress that I've made so far on this, just getting started with it today, and I've been thinking about it for weeks and looking at the pictures and trying to figure out how am I going to replicate this thing without having the original, which I so hope I'd get back. I was so disappointed when Doug Murray said he had given it to Jim Latta, who said, I'll take that gun and I'll restore it and give it back to you, which is the reason I contacted Jim Wynorski, not Jim Wynorski, I'm sorry, which is the reason I contacted Doug Murray, I thought I'd get it back from him, have access to the original gun, pull some molds off it, restore it, send back the original gun for him to have, since I gave it to him all those years ago, and then he told me Jim Latta got it. I didn't know who Jim Latta was. I knew nothing about that. Evidently, he trusted him very much at one time, and the guy just never finished the gun, never returned his phone calls or emails, and so it's out there somewhere, lost for all time, and it's really sad. So, but I'm the guy that made it, so let's move forward, and we'll do more of this tomorrow. Continuing on with the laserblast gun. Yes, I know the whole soundtrack by heart. I've seen it recently. I've made various parts. Now, the original barrel, as I said, was actually sculpted in clay and molded in plaster and made out of neoprene. We're not going to do that because the neoprene rubber, after a while, and it's a very hard rubber. I mean, it's like almost like pouring fiberglass. It was neat stuff. I used it for a lot of things back in the 70s, and it would hold its shape really well and support a lot of weight, amazingly, because of all those heat sinks and stuff. But instead, this time, I've used styrene plastic because I'm good with it. And I've made this barrel here. And I'm going to have to glue a lot of this down still. And eventually what's going to happen is this is all going to get filled and puttied and smoothed and carved into a very, very perfect shape. And then I'm going to attach it to the bottle here that I've made. Now this entire piece here, it's worth my life to pull it out of here, but it does fit now. I had a hard time getting it to fit that diameter just right. So rather than use the polyethylene bottle that I originally used and probably put pop rivets into, because there's no way you can't glue anything to polyethylene. You can put acid in polyethylene and it won't eat through it. Sulfuric acid, in fact. All kinds of stuff, solvents, everything, that's why they use it. They use it for everything from putting polyurethane, A and B into, to silicone, you name it. So I need something I can stick to. So I mapped pretty well the body and the size of it and made one out of styrene. So now I can glue the barrel to it with no problem. Paul Gentry found 3 film cans, 16 millimeter, 400-foot mag film cans, and they are about the size of this Lazy Susan. They're just slightly smaller. So he's sending those to me. I'm probably still going to scratch build my own in styrene, but then, because then I'll have a more exact shape that I can mold and make more from. After a while, I will run out of finding those film cans. So probably on the first 3, I'll actually use the real film cans on the one we're going to make from these molds. But eventually, the cans will be replaced with something I'm actually making. So I think the barrel is pretty close to what I had. It's difficult to tell because there's parts up here really close to the end of it, and if those go right about here, it should be about right. Plus then there's all these aluminum tubes which were piled up in here and then that over it. So I'm trying to, not remembering exactly how it was sculpted, trying to get as close as I can. It certainly looks the part. And so what I want to do is glue this piece onto this piece and try to get it straight. So, which is always a fun thing to do. So it's so much of this is just eyeballing. And I'm just going to kind of cut off these pieces here because I don't need them. And it fits pretty good. I'm going to keep the seam towards the bottom or the seam towards the top. So, and glue this on. And because I'm using styrene glue, I should be able to move it. But the great thing is it I don't know, maybe it's just because I've been working with styrene for so long, everything just seems to sort of melt together really well. What I want to do is make sure that to the seam that this is, God, it's level. Imagine that. So now is the great task of getting this level. Sound like data. Not so level. What, you never thought of doing it this way before? The barrel tapers, it goes from wide to narrower. Narrower? No, to narrow. Now there I can clearly see that it's, ouch, tipped. Oh. I'm gonna get it in the ballpark, and then I'm gonna put some of this wonderful plastic weld wonderfulness on it. And just a little bit, it just leaks right under there. And while it's still wet, I'm gonna put it down on the ground and look straight down at it. And then we'll do the roll test. That's where I roll the whole thing on the ground, and if the gun barrel doesn't do this, I know it's straight. Nice squeeze down. Now, eventually what's going to happen is I'm going to Evercoat putty this whole thing. Oh, that's really good. That's really good. Now, remembering that it narrows, that's about right. And the putty and everything will smooth everything out. Now, I'm the one that's going to assemble every one of these. So it's not necessary that the parts are covered, look all pristine and nice, because they're going to be covered over with parts. But to a degree, I will smooth and make all this really nice. Looking straight down on it, I can see that it's really straight. It really is. Mary's looking straight down on it now.
No, they are.
Yeah, no, they are. You can see already it's attached. So I think I'm pretty good here. The other thing I want to do is not hit the Discovery. Is connect this to here and make sure that we're going to do the roll test. Now, Felix is asking where I got the tube. Well, the tube, by now, you probably figured out because you watched the video up to this point, was made out of PETG. I do not recommend, if you're making one of these guns for yourself, as some of you have indicated you're going to do, that you use that. It's very flexible. And I only did it to find out what the diameter of the plastic actually is, so I can order the correct acrylic tubing. Come on, go in there. You know you want to go in there. We struggled with this earlier, didn't we, Mary? All right, it does fit, absolutely. See, rather snugly. So, it looks too big to me, but it isn't. It can't be because, well, this has to be cut down. Of course, we're going to get the actual acrylic tube next week, which is like, it's 3/16 by, I believe the inside diameter is 5 inches. And so it should fit right about here. So this is definitely too long right now, this tube part, but I shove it down to about where it should be. Because if you look at it on my arm, you'll see very easily that there's about that much flop in there. There's a handle that goes there. And then my hands are like this. There's pictures right here that show it. I classically held it just underneath, boy, is this barrel too long? Well, it's an easy fix if it isn't, or is. It's really hard to tell. So it's about like that. And if I put it down on the ground like this, on the table, let's see, I'll straighten this out. Now, of course, it's stuck in there, but it's par for the course. So I broke the barrel off. Until I get it locked in, that's how it's going to be. And I have to recheck. It looks pretty good. I could see the marks from where I had it before. So I think this is pretty straight now. I'm going to check it again from this angle here. Looks pretty good. I think we'll live with that. And then there's this other part that, this is just a temporary one, but this actually goes on the back here. Let's see, orient it this way. The tape eventually comes off. That's just to keep the piece together. Now, since this was made to go over the bottle, and this is the inside diameter, this should fit, he says, knowingly. I may have to make another one, but it should fit. The thing is, you go on at an angle and not straight on, it becomes very difficult to fit anything. I'll try it this way. It should fit. There it goes. Sort of, maybe, kind of. Of course, it would have been far too easy for me to have just done this. You know, it's painter's tape. It's not supposed to hold that well. Anyway, we're gonna do it like this. Just gonna wrap this around, and then it goes to the back of the tube. That makes this all about this long, and I want it to be tape it around there. Snakes in a can. It's hard to believe that that actually fit over there because you can see how much it struggles to fit. But this whole thing would not fit inside the tube otherwise, so I don't know what's going on. I don't think that's going to work for me, but again, I'm going to put this back on, and this tube here, this is all eyeballing. It's not that far up on the bottle, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I need to cut that much off. Yeah. So I'll cut that much off. Why not? Should be interesting. And then fit this down. And I'll leave a little tad of it on there. Because when you don't have anything to go by other than pictures, you have to just keep doing and trying stuff until it looks right to your eye. Now it already looks like about the right length of tube. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, good. Now, the struggle of getting this to go back in here again. As I said before, this does fit. There's a trick to it. Come on. I told you it fits, but you didn't believe me. Oh no! Okay, so I'm gonna make this turn a bit in here. So let me get it straightened up. Because clearly it's not level. I may have to do this again, which is something I dread. Until all these parts are locked down really good with putty and everything, I could break this at any time. And it just does not want to turn. Of course, because it's just an absolutely perfect fit. There it goes. Ha ha ha. There's nothing to grab onto. That's my Frankenstein imitation. All right, fine. Be that way. You piece of garbage. We'll turn you this way. I want this to be. Well, there you go. Don't you dare slip out of there. Okay. Let's see. It's about right. Needs to go a little bit more. You know you love watching me struggle like this. Huh? Don't break. Just last so I can get a mold made on you. That is pretty straight all the way around. Now it's about the right length. It needs to go down a little bit more, right about to there. So these have to be closer together when I do the actual thing. Yeah, they are a bit wide apart. So that's another thing. Every little thing throws you. And the film can goes, it kind of hangs back over here. God, that heat sink was big. And it hangs back over the edge of this. So now it doesn't look as big anymore. It looks about the right size. It's hanging in there. So this part here, I'm just going to shove it in this way so we can get an idea of the look. It'll fit now. And then this part really is far too long, so I want to cut down some of this very quickly here. Now, this will be the last day that you actually see, well, this will be actually, let me start over again. This is pretty much all we're going to do for now until next week's, because tomorrow's Friday and I have to edit shows and do all that kind of stuff. But what I'll be doing next week will be printing this whole thing and making it really nice, making this part what I'm working on right now, and getting these parts ready to be molded. Because that, once I make a mold on this, I make a hard mold in this, and I make a nice fiberglass copy of this, there'll be nothing breaking and falling off, and everything will be even and perfectly smooth and wonderful. And I will be able to get the tubing, the real tubing, acrylic tubing, next week. And at that time, I can start working on the parts, and which I'm hoping that we'll be able to get to the other parts next week. There we go. That's about right. Right about there. And I had my hand on the handle, like about that. So, yep. Yep, that's it. That would put that right about there. So, this is coming along very well. It really is looking like the laserblast gun, despite all the dog hair. I think I could start pulling off some of this tape. That might be neat. So, because I'm pretty sure that this stuff has dried the glue. Okay, just throwing away some trash here. Dimensionally, I think I have this pretty close now. Look at that, I can even hold it up like this and it all looks pretty straight. And just a little bit to that angle there. You know, there's going to be adjustments to make, but overall, there's the handle part there. The handle go inside like that. This will all be filled and sanded. I'm going to put putty all in here. I'm going to putty over all this. I'm going to make a notch up here for where the opening is. So I'm just cutting off this bit of barrel overhang here. You're probably wondering, well, Steve, how did you form those parts out of styrene? I didn't show that. No, I did not. And, you know, unfortunately, I assume too much sometimes. And I assume you guys all know how to work with styrene. It's not hard. It's like working with paper. You know, you want to get a shape of a barrel. You can see how I overlapped this and kept doing this until I got it where I wanted it to be. And then I glued it, and then I took it over there and I flat sanded it so this was flat and I could add this. I ended up making a second one because I felt this one was flared too much, and this one's a little less because it's not flared that greatly. So, and then with, I can feel glue coming loose down here. And then with the other parts, you know, I wrapped tubing. I wrapped styrene around round shapes that I found, like the bottle, and then made it slightly undersized so that it would fit inside the acrylic, the eventual acrylic tube, which has got a 5-inch diameter, inside diameter. so I could match that and turn that. I did this same gag that I used to make the barrel. I did to make the bottle shape here that you see. And the dog hair is extra. You have to have a dog to have this much dog hair, geez. So I think it's a good start. What I'm gonna do next is, of course, preen this whole thing. And like I said, we'll get it ready to make a mold of, which is gonna be really, really interesting. So I think we did pretty good for our first week, although I only got a chance to work on it a couple days this week. I am faster than a 3D printer. Back at my laserblast gun. There was never a name for this gun except the laserblast gun, but the barrel was too long before. And luckily, this wasn't glued on permanently, so I could adjust it. And in looking at the film, I could see definitely that this is the right weight now. By the way it rests in my hand, because I mean, who better than me to know that, because I'm the one that held it. So when I look at it in pictures and I see my arm sticking out that far, my hand, these are all the correct proportions. What's going to happen is, of course, is this tube's going to be removed, and I'm going to fiberglass this whole thing. Yeah, because it's flexible and a little flimsy in spots, and I want to be able to manhandle it. I want to be able to put lots of putty on it and stuff, and just get all the contours really nice and everything. The one in the film wasn't that good, but I want this to be nice, because some people are going to get these and they're going to be like right here looking at it, so it's got to be good. So I got all the basics that I need to start doing that next. So Monday we'll glass this with West Systems epoxy and a fine glass cloth. And when that hardens up, it'll be a lot like this. This is my glider that I've been working on. And this is the fuselage for it, minus the canopy, which goes here. But that's all fiberglassed. So. And then sanded and smoothed and everything. One of the things that I've talked about before was the fact that Paul Gentry found 3 film cans, and 3 lucky people, will, one of them being me, will get to have the actual cans. Everyone else will have a replica of the can, which I've started working on by cutting 2 rather nice discs, and they're a certain width and height. So I'm gonna, okay, what I want to do is glue these together. Oh, they didn't have any plastic that was long enough, so I had to make this extension here, which hopefully will work okay. And once I get it glassed and I sand it and everything, it'll be great. But I want to start in like one corner like this and start gluing. And this should go between, because it's slightly less than an inch thick, and that's what the original was. Let's see how well I do with this. And not well. In this case, it might actually be handy to use CA, but unfortunately, I think the CA will cause a lot of problems. So this is going to take a while to do, and when we come back, I'll show you the can on top, because that really kind of finishes off for this first part. So I ended up using CA. It was a lot faster, and I got a really clean and nice fit on that. So now what I'm going to do is I want to put this on top and start using this glue, because I'm tired of having CA stuck all to me. A little bit of this. You know, the welding, whatchamacallit. The stuff grabs almost as fast, but you just gotta wait a while. Wait a second. Wait a minute. I'm just gonna tack it in a couple of spots so we can have a look. So it was actually a 16 millimeter film can I used, a 400-foot mag to be exact. For those of you, and surprisingly, I've noticed that some people out there are seeing that I'm doing this and talking about what I'm doing like it's a fan project. It is. I'm a fan of my own movie, but they don't realize I'm the guy that actually made the gun, which is amazing, because I just watched the high def today, at least part of it, and right after Roddy McDowell, the next screen credit at the beginning of the movie is a single card credit to Steve Neal for makeup. So, and I believe props too, somewhere in there. So somebody's not paying attention. But unfortunately, in order to know credits, you have to read them. And there's not a lot of reading going on these days. And with people that are closer to my age, that's probably a pet peeve with you, such as it is with me. I mean, we're not asking you to read a lot, just a credit. Oh, I didn't see him. I was on my phone. Anyway. You know, it's funny, watching movies while on cell phone is almost as bad as drinking and driving on cell phones, because the opinions that you get about certain films that were basically half watched and missed because they're on their phone doesn't really give them the room to pass judgment on anything. So anyway, here we go. Is it just me, or is this starting to look like something familiar? It really kind of, it's right about the right spot. It was kind of back a ways. Maybe it was actually up here. But, let's tape it on so I can hold it up. Because I'm not going to glue that on or do anything like that, but I might put some tape on it. Look, double stick tape, SNG style. Right about there. And there we go. So I think for part one, I've done really, really well so far, working on this from just, you know, nothing but pictures and memory and looking at the movie. This is going to be a really neat gun. I can't wait to own one myself. So I hope you're all enjoying this. I know you've been waiting a long enough time for it. As you can clearly see, we are off and rolling on this project, and we will come back next week and start the process of fiberglassing and preening this so that we can make a mold on it. So that's what's up next, plus heat sinks. Next week. Thanks for watching, and thank you so much for encouraging me to do this. It's much appreciated. I'm very flattered.